Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. I am Sally Schiffman. I'm a principal planner with the city, and I will be acting as zoning administrator today. We have two items before us this afternoon, Thursday, December 4th, 2025. The first item on tonight's agenda is for an approval of a precise plan modification and an administrative adjustment. This is PL 250048 and PL 250049. And this item is for an installation of an 850 square foot fuel cell enclosure on the subject site. And the request includes the removal of 7 parking spaces to facilitate the construction. We're going to pause there and let the applicant team introduce themselves for the record, and then we will go ahead and have a staff presentation.
I'm Pulkit Malhotra. I'm the engineering manager working for SK Ecoplant, and we are an EPC company where we help with installation for blue energy fuel cells. The client that we are currently working with is T-Mobile, where the fuel cells will be installed on premise, and this is pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Rodrigo Padua, project engineer and permit applicant for this project.
Right.
This only two. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Alex.
Sure. Hey, thank you, Zoning Administrator. My name is Alex Rangel, Associate Planner for our City of Escondido's Planning Division. And before you this afternoon, I'd like to request approval of the precise plan modification for an 850 square foot fuel cell enclosure and an administrative adjustment for the reduction of parking under case numbers PL 250048 and PL 250049, and the adoption of Zoning Administrator Resolution 2025-12. The project site is located within the Montiel Road Master Plan area, located in the northwestern area of the city, addressed as 1441 Montiel Road. The site is bounded by Highway 78 to the south and Montiel Road to the north. The master plan area is in the city's general plan as the Montiel Road and is zoned for planned commercial development. The shopping center was developed in the 1990s as a multi-use industrial office development to include light manufacturing uses and additional commercial establishments. Development of the subject site began in the year 2000 for the construction of 2 tilt-up industrial buildings to operate as a multi-industrial use complex. Throughout the years, the site has been modified to its current use state, with the most recent modification request in 2014 with an expansion of a religious facility to the south of the subject property. The applicant is requesting a precise plan modification for the installation of an 850 square foot blue energy fuel cell enclosure to support an existing T-Mobile cellular switching facility which operates at 1441 Montiel Road. The fuel cells provided would generate and store power through natural gas supplied directly to the tenant suite to provide supplemental power to the facility and ensure continuous operational power. The fuel cells would be contained within an outdoor enclosure constructed of new CMU wall stucco veneer to fully screen the equipment and match the existing building's color and material. The design elements for the project are provided to you in your staff report under attachment 2. The applicant is additionally requesting an administrative adjustment for the reduction of the 7 on-site parking spaces. The project enclosure itself is 12.5 feet by 33 feet, totaling 850 square feet, requiring the removal of 7 parking spots in order to facilitate the installation of the fuel cell enclosure. There will be an additional request to reduce by an additional 8 parking spaces from parking requirements within the land development to memorialize existing conditions which have been impacted by accessibility improvements throughout the years. The proposed location of the enclosure and the removal of the parking spaces and parking requirements has been determined by the applicant and supplemental application to be the optimal location for this enclosure. The location was determined due to proximity to infrastructure, building separation, and fire separation safety requirements. And there were no feasible other alternatives to the installation location. Justification for the request was provided by the applicant in the form of an existing reciprocal parking agreement which originally required 229 spaces to be provided on site. Parking on site is currently shared between the industrial office building at 1441 Montiel Road and the religious facility operating to the south, addressed as 1451 Montiel Road. As the primary uses for these buildings do not coincide, industrial office complex operating Monday through Friday under standard office hours, and the religious facility operating on weekends primarily. Sorry, lost my point. The allowances of the existing parking agreement would meet the parking criteria of both uses on the property. Details for this agreement are provided to you within your staff report and additionally under attachment 3 for the reciprocal parking agreement. As part of the city's review, Staff Development Committee reviewed and analyzed the project under the city's general plan and zoning requirements. The project is consistent with the commercial land use policies, promoting the enhancement of these existing planned commercial spaces and providing additional security and reliability with existing telecommunications facilities. The project complies with all zoning and plan development requirements for the Montiel Road Master Plan area and has been reviewed and processed under all applicable provisions under Article 19, Plan Development. And additionally, but under Article 61, Division 2, for administrative adjustments for reductions in parking. Details regarding these proportions of review are included within the analysis section of your staff report. Conditions of approval have been included in the project to ensure its compliance with the zoning code and all requirements of the committee. Based on the information in this presentation and in your provided staff report and analysis, staff recommends approval of the project and requests that the zoning administrator adopt Resolution 2025-12, approving the request as conditioned. Staff and our representatives from the applicant's team are present for any additional questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the applicant team have anything else they would like to add in regards to the project description? Okay. As we do have other members of the public here, is there anybody that would like to speak on this matter?
Hello,
Yes, please state your name for the record.
my name is Jamie Looney. I'm a consultant to North Coast Church, the tenant or the property owner to the south. I just heard of the project about 3 hours ago. Read through the report. I think I spoke with one of you gentlemen before.
Our project manager.
Okay, very good. Our only question is about the noise and the sound. I saw that there was a study that was done. I have no bucket to put in the understanding of the noise that would be created by that. I understand that it was evaluated for the adjacent property, but I noticed that on the study it didn't necessarily consider the buildings on the property. I don't know if you noticed that, but we don't know what a polluting energy generator, what that creates. So that was one of the main questions that we had.
Okay. Do you have this report?
I do. Okay, I read the entire report.
Okay, got it. So we did this acoustic studies and they did. I'm not an acoustic engineer.
Neither am I.
Yes, exactly. And the Blue Energy servers, we have done several installations. Currently, we are doing installation at hospitals as well, where we are installing them. And these systems are not as loud as you would expect as diesel generators to be. They work through chemical reaction inside the fuel cells. We take in natural gas, we convert natural gas to electricity, and the emissions are also extremely low on these fuel cells as well. We have another report on that too, to see how much emissions if you wanted to see that. But in regards to, I can speak to this acoustic company again to provide additional data to see, but we are under our limits.
I saw that it was under all the limits. I
Yes.
just noticed that the study incorporated only the building to the east. It didn't necessarily call out the adjacent building, which is the North Coast building. So I don't know exactly how the studies are conducted and how far away the noise is evaluated.
Right.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not here to oppose the project. It was just a general question. I don't know exactly what the process is.
Certainly.
The only other question we have is that we know that the fire service is all tied together. I didn't see any information regarding the fire service and if and how that would be needed to be modified and how that affects the quantity of available flow? Because I know that the backflow is shared between the buildings.
Thank you for that question. So our fire department and our utilities have independently reviewed this project. There were no concerns from them regarding any of the fire flow or the backflow. Initially, their only considerations were safety and access to the actual enclosure, and there was no request or requirement to improve any of the systems on site. So they were deemed satisfactory based on current utilities and fire protection requirements.
Okay.
And is there anything that staff can add regarding the noise?
Yeah. As far as analysis of the noise, so it does designate that there are sensitive receptors in the area, primarily the residential units in north, and there was an additional industrial property to the east. The actual distance itself and the actual modeling did show that it was pretty under any sort of requirements on those proximities. The industrial property line to the east is actually substantively closer to the structure at 1451 Montiel Road.
Okay.
So the numbers would be pretty much matching, if not sufficient, to this.
Okay.
And regarding the location, noise impacts or noise studies are looking at the impact on the property to adjacent, not on-site to what's there. So that's more than likely what yours.
Right, and that's,
Yeah.
that, even though we're a separate structure,
Sure.
it would be impacted. And I noticed that our building wasn't highlighted. So when you look at the study, it did talk about the building to the east.
Right.
And I understand that it talks about distances. I just didn't know. We have no other model to understand what the noise would be. We use North Coast uses the building at odd times, on Sundays and such. So I didn't know how. I saw that it was by the hour. If you're using it at hospitals and things like that, I think that would answer their concerns. These are questions that they brought up after they looked at it. Again, we got this about 3 hours ago. So.
Certainly, so to clarify for the record that the distance between the proposed project and the adjacent industrial building was analyzed, and that is a closer distance than the enclosure to North Coast. And so those numbers did fall below the city's thresholds for appropriate noise levels.
Correct.
Okay. So you guys would also then have no.
Can I ask one other question?
You may.
Based on looking at the drawings, I saw the as-built that has to do with the existing parking. I saw some utility lines and things that were called out. There's no proposed work that would be done on the face of the North Coast building, correct? It's only isolated to the 1441.
Yes.
Correct.
Exactly.
I just want to make sure I was reading it correctly.
Absolutely.
I saw some existing utility.
So the common, that alley area.
Yep.
So we will do trenching.
I saw that.
Closer to that property itself.
Yeah.
We would not be coming in to your property.
Okay. And then as far as traffic control?
We will do traffic control.
And so would that end of the building access at any time be restricted while you're doing construction?
Absolutely not.
Okay. They
Our
have
property
quite
will be
a
restricted.
load on, they have a lot of traffic on Sundays, and so that their concern was the circulation.
Correct. So we keep that as a note, but we won't have issues. We will have traffic control whenever they start trenching, and we make sure some personnel are there to direct traffic.
Lighting and all that
Yes,
stuff.
absolutely. If the GC also works Monday through Friday, and if they're not working on Saturday, Sunday, they will cover it up.
Plate it.
Yes, they take everything out.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the public portion. Staff, is there anything else that you would like to add to the response to the member of the public?
Nothing at this time, I don't believe.
Okay. I have a couple of questions for you, and one would have to do along the similar vein as traffic control, which is just the construction site in general and making sure that everything is not, outside of the drive aisles. So of course they're conditioned to keep all of their construction activity within the allowances of the city. Is there anything in the conditions that speak to that?
I'm looking through these again. I am not as familiar with these are building standards, so if you don't mind me taking a look.
Go ahead. Meanwhile, I'll ask my second question while we're looking that up. I know that there was a reciprocal parking agreement in place for this property, and I'm glad that you are here, Mr. Louie, because this is a reduction ask of a removal of 7 parking spaces.
It's actually 15.
And there's 15 total because there are also another 8 parking spaces that we don't seem to have accounted for. So we are trying to clean up the situation now with this project. There have also been previous requests to reduce the parking requirements on this site. I want to clarify with staff first that we have independently looked at the use of the church versus all other uses on site, and are each of those independent uses accommodated by the 212 remaining parking spaces?
Thank you, Zoning Administrator. Thank you for that question. Yes, staff has fully analyzed each structure independently with all uses as calculated based on Article 39, our off-street parking requirements, and the parking provided would be sufficient based on our criteria identified in the joint use parking agreement requirements as well as the existing reciprocal parking agreement.
And is there any indication that we would need to have the reciprocal parking agreement redone? Or
No.
does it appear to be sufficient as written?
The language in the reciprocal parking agreement speaks more to percentages of shared parking as opposed to a specific hard number requirement. So based on the percentages that are provided, it does appear to be satisfactory based on our parking requirements that will be provided.
Okay.
We independently looked at that as well.
Any concerns from the applicant team?
Okay.
My question was only, did you have anything to add after reviewing?
No, with the way in which the spirit of the parking agreement, I think it's the only thing that we were pushing back on is that the adjacent property owner didn't disclose any of this to us while he was doing this. So from the spirit of the agreement, it implies that if there's any changes to the parking lot, that it would be discussed among the parties. Looking at the numbers and understanding of the use of that building, and knowing that that the North Coast building could have mezzanine in the future when it's under a different use. Actually, if North Coast was to sell that building or sell more than 50% interest in the building, the reciprocal parking agreement then becomes null and void, and so it goes back to standard calculations for use. So there's really no leg for North Coast to push back on, knowing that we're interested in quantity of parking spaces, but the property owner, he has the right to modify his property if he wants to.
Okay.
Based on code, there's enough parking. That's based on the code limits.
And the previous determination from the director did analyze exactly what Mr. Looney did mention, the mezzanine existence and the modification that was done in 2014 when North Coast Church did move in.
Expanded. Yeah.
Okay. That all being said, I think that satisfies my questions. So therefore, I have reviewed the staff report and resolution. I understand that the project before me, PL 250048 and PL 250049, as a request to approve a precise plan modification and an administrative adjustment for reduced parking. The proposed fuel enclosure is consistent with the current use of the communications facility and is consistent with the principles of the master plan, general plan, and the city's municipal code. The project has been reviewed by city staff and has been found to be in conformance with all applicable development standards. The conditions of approval have been incorporated into the project to ensure that all of these requirements are met. And therefore, per Article 61 and the authorities granted to me as zoning administrator, this item is approved. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are free to go about your afternoon and evening if you would like. If you would like to stay for the next item, you may.
That's what we're saying.
We might get back here, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Lee.
Good to see you, David.
Yeah, good to see you as well.
We have too many projects together.
A lot of projects. Heard about this one 3 hours ago.
And I do apologize, Oscar. I did not give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. We'll do another round of introductions for the record.
That's okay. Just usually we,
Do
everyone
I
does
know.
an intro just to, but however.
This is only my second time doing this. I'm getting used to it.
Loosey goosey.
Thank you for doing
Okay, Okay, good afternoon again. I am Sally Schiffman, I'm Principal Planner and acting as Zoning Administrator for the item before us. Second on the agenda, the modification to the conditional use permit for the existing YMCA facility. Today is Thursday, December 4th, 2025. This proposal is to repurpose portions of the existing facility to include cooperative programs with the Escondido Union School District, as well as tenant improvements for college education services and additional improvements for medical services within the YMCA building. No exterior modifications are proposed, nor are there any expansions to the building. So before we go into staff's presentation, I would like to go around again. Please have everybody introduce themselves for the record. And this time I will start with Oscar Romero.
I feel very special. Thank you very much. Hello everyone, my name is Oscar Romero, Principal Planner of Current Development.
Andrew Benton, Principal Architect, Benton Architects.
Melissa with Benton Architects.
John Borman, LLG Engineers, Traffic Consultant. Alex Nunez, Chief Operating Officer at Neighborhood Healthcare.
Bree Wong, CEO of Breeze Pacific, Title Consultant.
Chris Graham, Executive Vice President for National University.
Ron Leeds, Executive Director of Destiny of the YMCA.
Keith Choi, Director of Capital Real Estate for YMCA.
Andy McGuire, Incoming Superintendent for EUSD.
Angel Estrada, witness.
And again, thank you, Ms. Zoning Administrator. Again, my name is Alex Rangel, Associate Planner for the City of Escondido. And before you today is a request to approve a conditional use permit modification to an existing youth recreational organization facility located at 1040 North Broadway, the YMCA, under PL 250132, and adoption of resolution number 2025-13. The project site itself is located on the eastern side of North Broadway, north of Lincoln Avenue, and addressed as 1040 North Broadway, in its central location. The subject property is split zoned, designated under both the R2 multifamily designation as well as the CG general commercial designation. The subject property is bounded to the south with general commercial uses, to the west with our Lincoln Elementary School, to the north with multifamily residential uses, and to the east with additional single-family residential uses. Originally developed in 1967, the YMCA has been routinely expanded throughout the years and developed on this property, with the most recent expansion of the facility completed in 2009 with the development of the soccer arena. The current facilities include approximately 84,000 square feet of building area to include gymnasiums, sport and fitness equipment, and other administrative uses, and 32,000 square feet of outdoor play areas are also provided on site. The applicants today are requesting modification to their existing conditional use permit to repurpose portions of the campus and expand services offered to members of the youth organization and provide additional benefit to the Escondido community. The applicant has partnered with Escondido Union School District, National University, and Neighborhood Healthcare to provide expanded services to EUSD students, YMCA members, and our National University students. A breakdown of these site plan modifications requested and a site programming plan to demonstrate where these facilities will be operating will be provided to you under attachment 2 of your report. EUSD will be utilizing the YMCA campus to participate in a variety of after-school activities during the school year and additional student programs throughout the summer break. Programming will include the use of the fitness facilities, educational programs on site. EUSD will be transporting up to 300 students per day via the school district bus services alongside throughout from campuses throughout the city. National University will be repurposing approximately 8,100 square feet of the northern Stensrud building gymnastics for the operations of a satellite college-level education campus. These services will include classroom education for college degrees and additional educational classes and resources that will be provided to their collegiate staff, independent of the YMCA's operations. They're expecting to see a maximum of 70 students per classroom at one time during the hours of 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Neighborhood Healthcare will be repurposing approximately 11,000 square feet of the Southern Fitness facility to operate a youth-focused health center, providing outpatient medical services for the youth population. Neighborhood Healthcare will provide general medical services, pediatric care, behavioral health care, dental services, and similar services to ages 0 through 18. No services would be otherwise available to the general public. Neighborhood Healthcare expects to provide services to up to 118 children per day within this location. As part of the city's review, the Staff Development Committee reviewed and analyzed the project under the city's general plan and other additional zoning requirements for the project. The project complies with all zoning and development requirements for the R2 zoning designation and has been reviewed and processed under all applicable provisions under Article 61, Division 1 for conditional use permits. Based on the information in this presentation and the staff report provided to you, the staff recommends approval of the project and requests that the zoning administrator adopt resolution number 2025-13 approving the modification as conditional. Staff and representatives for the applicant are present for any additional questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I would like to clarify for the record, it's PL 25-0130.
Yes, correct.
Excellent. Okay.
I apologize for misspeaking. Thank you.
That's okay. Okay, I am going to have some questions, but first I'd like to pass it to the applicant team. Is there anything that you guys would like to add to the description or provide any additional information to us?
Ready for your
Okay.
questions?
Okay. This looks like an amazing expansion of the site. I think it's a lot of neighborhood services that are typically lacking in that area of the city. I'm glad that you have your transportation consultant here. I do have some questions about how, I saw that you had analyzed peak use for just traffic generation. I'm wondering if there was any consideration given to overlapping site circulation. So for instance, we have National University students switching classes, potentially 100 and some odd people coming and going. We have maybe a nighttime evening use at YMCA, people showing up for soccer practice or basketball or whatever. We may have students being picked up from the aftercare program. We may have medical staff leaving in the evening. Is there thought given to kind of how the system would work between 5 and 6 p.m.? That's a tough intersection there. We've got 2 different driveways. We also have the apartment building there. Just wondering if thought had been given to that and any contingency plans for when the parking lot gets a bit crowded.
Yeah, I have to say a few things on that. I think, kind of as you alluded to, it's mostly an off-peak type use. And there is some overlap, but it is spread out throughout the day, better than a lot of projects we work on actually, which it kind of peaks at the same time and stuff. So, and in our scoping agreement that we do for the city, that the traffic engineer looks at, it didn't even meet the requirements of needing a traffic study. So it was low enough. It's actually under 100 ADT, which is a little bit of traffic size. At the end of the day, that's not a big project in our world. The busing of the students and the off-peak nature of it. So it's a good question, fair question. But there weren't any detailed traffic studies done just because it didn't even meet the requirement for that. And we're confident of the off-peak nature of the project in general.
Okay. And then for YMCA, when you have special events or overlapping events, how do you typically handle the traffic in the parking lot?
So the beautiful thing about this site is that all the partners together, we operate as one. So there's no time that we wouldn't coordinate with each other to make sure if we did have a special event, most likely all of us are going to be involved in that event, and we plan accordingly to make sure it's not other services aren't getting in the way of it.
And were there any concerns from our transportation engineering staff?
There were no concerns
safety,
provided.
anything like that?
Yes, thank you. There were no concerns provided from our traffic engineering staff. They found the traffic report consistent with all of their requirements. The ADT threshold, it was shown as, I believe, 87, if I remember the number right, for additional ADT. Right. So it was under any threshold requirement for further review or study.
Okay, thank you. I also would like some clarification as to how the after-school program would work. The way that it was described to staff was that the students would be bused to this location from multiple schools, but also bused back to the schools.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, how has that model worked before? Is this a new, so they go back, they're taken back to the schools at 6 p.m.?
Correct. So it's like an enrichment program.
Okay.
And if you
Yeah,
want-
we've already been, do this in a variety of different ways, but we pick up our kids, the bus comes after school, picks up our after-school program kids.
Okay.
Would take them here, there, or any number of places, and then brings them back, and parents reunify with their family, their children at our campus,
Okay.
in their neighborhood school.
Okay, so that helps as well. So we do not have 300 students being
Yeah.
picked up by individual parents in the evenings. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That helps me feel a lot better. I also want to, I know there was some last minute back and forth and discussion as to how the neighborhood healthcare portion of this would work. And I just want to make sure that everybody agrees with the conditions as stated. The city has acknowledged that this would be available to really anybody 0 to 18, primarily members of YMCA or students involved in the program, but it's also understood this is operating all day and would be available to really any child in presumably part of the school district, therefore really any child in the city of Escondido. For neighborhood healthcare, your locations, are they typically localized? Like you wouldn't necessarily be pulling people from all the way in South Escondido
No.
up here or something, they're pretty localized.
They are usually operate on Valley Parkway,
Mhm.
from 48 North, or Valley Parkway down to 425 North Big Street. That's where our main pediatric hub is. So this location would be specifically for EUSD, UHSD, high school district, and YMCA members and siblings. We intend to launch a questionnaire where it really screens the students and youth to make sure that the site is applicable to them. And if they fall outside of that parameter, they would be referred back to our other main pediatric location for services. So we have a system of screening and making sure that they're being scheduled at the right location.
Okay. And I know that part of this conversation over time has been that medical services aren't typically permitted within this location. However, because this is ancillary in size to the YMCA facilities, it is moving forward as such. So the conditions have been written very specifically to limit space, and staff is comfortable with that. The last clarification I had was for dental services, which I think may have been adjusted already.
The condition itself was not adjusted. But
Okay. We had some questions as to, there was some language in the description that implied that dental operations would
Yeah.
be happening
So we
here.
refer to our dental exam rooms as dental operatories, so it's just a labeling that
Okay.
we do for it. So it's really preventative restorative procedures, nothing major surgical happens there, that gets referred out to our partners.
So this is fillings, not,
Fillings,
Teeth extraction.
minor extraction
Okay.
of the French
Sure.
teeth, primary teeth,
Right.
that's about it.
okay, thank you very much. Any remaining questions, concerns? Any other questions from the team? We have nobody present from the public, so there is no public questions. Okay. With that, I have reviewed the staff report and the resolution. I understand the project before me is for the approval of the modification to the conditional use permit. This is PL 25-0130. The proposed modifications to the existing use permit are not anticipated to have any adverse impact on the surrounding properties, and all proposed modifications would be located within the facilities. The development standards within our zoning code and conditions of approval assure that no adverse impacts will occur to adjacent properties. Conditions of approval have been included and will further ensure compliance with all regulations. And therefore, per Article 61 and the authorities granted to me as zoning administrator, this item is approved. Thank you very much. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping.